Welcome to Module 4 of the Scholar Education AI Champion course. And in this module, we are going to go over how to unleash AI in your classroom. We have another special guest. We've already introduced to you Scholar Education's AI assistant, Professor Bruce. And now we will be introducing BaxterBot, our student assistant. And this module is all about how you can use AI with your students.
So how can you introduce AI to your students? Well, just like with any ed tech tool, you want to emphasize that it's there to help them learn, but it's not a replacement for their thinking or creativity. So you really want to reinforce the idea that AI can assist with tasks like brainstorming, research, or organizing ideas, but ultimately students should be the ones that provide the input and come up with their own unique work. An example of what that can look like is maybe they're working on a writing assignment. Students could use AI as a tool to help them brainstorm ideas or give them feedback on their writing.
And just like we talked about in a previous module about prompt engineering, and we shared that BARCS framework, you need to teach prompt engineering to your students. And I encourage you to use the same framework. Use that BARCS acronym as a way to teach your students how to interact with any AI tool. This will allow them to be sure that they have all of the context needed when interacting with these tools, and they won't get frustrated by their interaction. An example of maybe a way you could introduce prompt engineering to your students, aside from just showing them the BARCS acronym, is if, for example, a science teacher maybe could show students how, if they type in, what are 3 examples of renewable energy sources for a beginner, and replace that word beginner to an expert, they're going to get a completely different output. And it just showcases that every input when conversating with these AI tools really matters. And just like we said last module, prompt engineering is very specific to the directions and the context. And to get the best results, you're going to want to take a little bit of time to make sure that you are following that BARCS acronym and giving the best input to get the best output.
So how can students use AI? Well, they can use it in a variety of ways, from brainstorming ideas, practicing new skills, solving problems, receiving feedback. But ultimately, we like to think of AI as a tutor or an assistant for students. It's never going to replace their original thinking or just do the work for them. We want to emphasize that AI is a tool that can help them in completing their work. For example, in a math class, students could ask AI for additional practice problems or explanations, or give them step-by-step directions on how to solve a certain problem, but it's never going to give them the full answer and do the work for them.
And I think going back to those statistics at the beginning where teachers are spending 3+ hours weekly on tutoring after school, I think this is a great way for us to be able to leverage AI to take that workload off of your plate. It can be an AI tool that knows exactly what you are teaching that day, and it can support your students in and out of the classroom. Now, some policies for AI use that are just important to highlight is AI detectors are not reliable at this point. So you might have a tool that's saying that it's detecting whether or not AI has been used, but they have been alarmingly shown to not be accurate. So we just encourage you to basically use your own judgment. Cheating in the classroom is a fear around AI, but to be honest with you, we've been dealing with cheating as educators for a very long time, and the internet made that immensely worse, right? So, and the smartphone. So we have always had to be smarter than the students and think about ways to avoid cheating. This is something that you need to include in your plagiarism policy. You need to address it with your students. You need to tell them when they can use AI and when they can't. You need to explain to them that copying and pasting from anything, whether it be an AI tool or just the general internet, is a example of plagiarism, but address the elephant in the room. Like, have a conversation with your students. We are trying to prepare them for the world that they're going to be entering in, and that world is going to include AI. So have a policy, address it with your students, and just know that AI detectors are not always accurate. So it's important to create lessons where you can see your students actually completing the task. And then you won't have to ask yourself, did they do this or did the AI tool do this?
So to wrap up this module, we want BaxterBot to share some tips for having students interact with AI. So tip number 1 is to think of AI as a smart assistant, here to help you but not do the work for you. And learning how to use AI responsibly will set you up for success in the future. Tip number 2, so when should you use AI? You can use AI to clarify questions, define a word, and anything that you're curious to know more about. That's, of course, appropriate for the classroom. And tip number 3 is AI works best when you're specific and detailed in your prompt. So using that BARCS acronym. So good inputs equals good outputs.
And finally, it's time for your pep quiz. Answer the questions below, and we will see you for Module 5. Thank you.